We're going to continue the investment discussion about the Nigerian Stock Exchange with publicly traded companies. Now going into the hospitality sector with Transcorp Hotels PLC, which, by the way, NGX up 49.3. Transcorp is up about, I think, 41% year to date. They released their third quarter earnings, double-digit growth across the board for the company in terms of its revenues, in terms of its profit before tax, and also its profit after tax. So there are the numbers there. Revenue 72.3 billion, 49% growth. Cost of sales did climb by 22%. Gross profit up by 60%. And the profit before tax there, 22.4 billion, 36% growth there. Profit after tax coming in at up 45%, 14.8 billion. Let's dive in with Oyindamola Oyenuga, who's a senior analyst, lead alternative assets desk at Meristem Securities. Oyindamola, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to get your thoughts on the revenue triggers for Transcorp Hotel. Well, what you thought about, because I know there's the rooms and the food and beverage and so on and so forth. What did you make of it?
So I mean, looking at their performance this period, it was very good. Just like you mentioned, revenue top line came in much stronger, and I think they're raking about close to 50% in revenue to about 72 billion, which is quite impressive, the highest number so far. And basically just breaking down, that number across their different, operating segments, the food segment, room service, and even the newly included
event center
that came on board. We saw like 1.1 billion, like significant skyrockets. I mean, the room service, just as expected, Transcorp, as we know, is a premium brand. So they have that avenue to, increase prices, offering premium prices. And not even just that, that company, I think that Transcorp Hilton Abuja has like about 667 rooms.
That's a lot.
That's really a lot. And just with that number, and then even the fact that they have, premium prices. I mean, I think I was checking and I saw that the lowest room there, I think that was their king size, I think pool view room, has about like the price for it is about $233. That's close to 350K. If you translate that. So that's really high, and they're able to offer that premium price, especially because it's a global standard. The Hilton Incorporated Global, and having to offer those premium services, not like the regular hotels where you just checking like 20,000 naira and stuff like that. So they're able to offer such high amount of such high price, and even I think I saw maybe the highest price, maybe $600 or even more than that. So imagine all of that coupled with the fact that they have a number of rooms, and that's contributed to their numbers. Not even just the room part, even the food and beverage part as well. You're having that much guests, in a hotel, per time, guests tripping in and out, and at the same time, them having to offer all of these services, not just room service,
right,
but also not just room bookings rather, but also availability of food within the environment, even gyms, recreational centers, and stuff like that. So all of this, contributed to a higher performance, for them this period too.
Fantastic. Now on the cost side, looking at the cost of doing business, I was quite struck at how with the cost breakdown. So room 6 billion, 20% growth, but food and beverage was 10.9 billion naira, and then some other operating costs. What do you make of the costs for food?
So I mean, just like the way revenue is goes up, also cost is expected to go up in that same direction. But this period was even much more. And basically, I'll just probably break it into two parts. On one hand, we are seeing the fact that the high cost environment as well. I mean, you can't rule out that factor coming from, a macroeconomic environment that was quite heated, inflation high and all of that. And for Transcorp, they have to import some of their, maybe cooking items and things like that. So they're also exposed in terms of FX. So some of those things also contributed to higher cost for food for them. And these prices they're not cheap. Having to offer for a brand as big as Transcorp, having to offer, premium services, having to offer quality services. I mean, if you're charging that much for room, if you're charging that much for the kind of services that you offer in terms of room, in terms of recreational services, and all of that, you should expect that the kind of quality that you're putting in to those services, it obviously attracts, much cost. So the prices are higher because they have to meet up with those, high standards. I mean, looking at their brand, it's a premium brand, like I mentioned before. So you're not just getting things that are just off the table.
Right.
They're going for probably the highest, and then you're offering these kind of services to, the top, percent in, the economy and in basically the top percent people that are demanding, their services. So, the cost of these items, importing the items, even sourcing for these food materials, having to move it from, the sites, the transport costs, and even down to the hotel as well. These prices are quite high, and it's not just for Transcorp, it's also across board for, the hospitality, sector in Nigeria. And basically, I would just even manufacturing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
So
representative.
we were, Arise News was at the AfriExim annual meetings, which was held at the Transcorp Event Center. I just happened to, after one particular session was over, I was walking back, and I actually got the chance to walk behind, seeing the food trucks get delivered.
A lot of
it was
it.
massive. It was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. It was quite, quite excited to behold. It's like, I think it's like running a small local government, area with everything that you have to provide.
Exactly.
FX. I mean, FX has been stable under 1,004 now, under 1.5.
Yeah.
How is that playing to? I mean, touched on it a bit, but playing to their operations.
The operation, like I mentioned before, they are exposed in terms of having to import some of these materials, furniture, all of these beddings and room.
Their furniture is quite nice.
It's quite expensive. So, and like I mentioned before, you won't just, for a company that offers this kind of high pricing, and the fact that they cater to, governments, senators, big people especially, right? You're not just, the kind of service that they offer is not just for, it's not cheap, basically, right? They want to go for the high quality and all of that. So many of these items are probably imported, most likely imported, and they face, the FX pressures from that bit. But I would also say it's kind of balances out for them because they're able to offer, international prices, dollar prices, and pricing in dollars and all of that. So it's kind of muted for them in terms of the exposure, so much exposure for them. So it's like a balance of two, but on the balance of things, it's more of a, benefit to them rather than, significant, FX losses like we've seen for other like manufacturing, consumer goods and the likes of them.
Gotcha. Now, this is the third quarter. Fourth quarter, we're going into the whole festive season. What's your outlook, I guess, for hotels, maybe hospitality at large? How are you seeing things going into the fourth quarter?
So, I mean, I think quarter four, looking at Transcorp's number, if you look back at, say, 2022 and even prior to that, Q4 is when they make most of their revenue because, I mean, you're seeing a lot of inflow of, maybe Nigerians abroad, or even it's festive season, basically. Right. So you're expected to see more events, demand for room bookings, even short-let apartments, just even moving away from Transcorp, looking at the whole hospitality sector, demand for, short-let and all of that. So it's expected that, these volumes are going to rise in terms of increased occupancy rates and, things like that. And the fact that, I mean, it's festive season, it's also an advantage for them to hike, prices, right, to increase prices even more. And the fact that they're a premium brand, they have the, that leverage to be able to do that. So it's expected that, performance for Q4, looking at the entire hospitality industry, to be much better. And even for Transcorp, a bit at their numbers, I think during the period, they paid down some of their debts. Right. And we saw how that trickled down to their finance cost. It was, came in significantly lower during this period. And we expect that to, help. I mean, with the high increase in top line and then cost even going lower, by bits, at least from that, the debt and having to pay finance costs, it's expected to, help them a bit and, even produce even better numbers. And even just away from that, 9M numbers, I think we're currently around 15 billion in terms of profit after tax for Transcorp. And I think 2024 numbers was around 15 billion. So
they've done that.
They've done that already in just 9M. So definitely you should expect that 2025 numbers are going to come in even much stronger. And for the hospitality sector, generally, it's quite positive. It's festive season, basically. Right. There's increased demand for many of these room services, room bookings, and, all all of that, short-let apartments, hotels, increased activities, weddings, concerts, and, basically it's a festive season, so we should expect to see even more demand and them also having that, leeway to be able to even hike prices a bit more and, top line is expected to come stronger, and then with the, lower costs and at least from one end should, help their bottom line eventually.
To boost it.
Yeah.
Oyindamola Oyenuga over at Meristem, thank you so much for joining us.